Be honest, have you ever thought to yourself, ugh, I hate emotions, or I'm bad at emotions, or I don't do emotions? Maybe you've said this to a partner or even your therapist, and maybe you've even felt it in your body, right? That resistance, that tension in your chest when somebody asks you, how are you feeling? It's like your insides want to just kind of roll their eyes and you don't want to go there. Because honestly, emotions are messy, they are unpredictable, and they can feel so uncomfortable. And sometimes they make you feel like you are completely out of control, and no one likes to feel that way. So here's the truth: hating emotions isn't actually about the emotions themselves, it's about the relationship that you have with your emotions. So, in this video, I'm going to break down why people think they hate emotions, how it keeps you stuck, and how changing that relationship with them can actually help you move through pain, overthinking, and even move through heartbreak so much faster. Hi, I'm Emmi. I'm a breakup and relationship coach and your love alchemista, here to guide you through turning pain into peace, how to reawaken your confidence, your clarity, your connection, one step at a time. So in this video, by the end of it, you're going to understand how your emotions are not actually the enemy. They're your most accurate GPS for healing and fulfillment. And this only happens when you are regulated versus dysregulated. I'm also going to show you how to start identifying your emotions correctly, because most people actually do this completely wrong. So if you're ready to stop being ruled by your emotions or running from them, this video is definitely for you. So let's start with something really important. When people say, I hate emotions or I'm bad at emotions, what they're really saying is, I hate how emotions make me feel. There are a few reasons for that, and I bet more than one of these will sound familiar to you. So here are 4 reasons why people think they hate emotions or they're bad at them. Reason number 1 is they want to avoid or suppress emotions because they're uncomfortable and they're tied to fears that they don't want to face. When we avoid emotions like sadness, anger, grief, it's because they threaten to open doors that we may have been keeping locked for years. It's not the emotion itself that we're afraid of, it's actually what it might reveal that can feel really scary. Maybe for some of it's the fear of rejection, abandonment, or even a loss of control. And instead of facing it, we shove it down until it starts leaking out sideways in all these different ways, like anxiety, irritability, and emotional numbness. The second reason why people might hate emotions or think they're bad at them is because they dismiss their emotions as being irrational, or they're trying to logic their way through everything. So if you've ever thought, I shouldn't feel this way, or I know better than that, or this is completely irrational, you've learned to value logic over feeling, and maybe even to judge yourself for being too sensitive. Emotions are not meant to be logical, but they're actually signals. And ignoring them because they don't make sense is like taking a battery out of a fire alarm because the noise okay, tongue twister. Taking a battery out of a fire alarm because the noise annoys you. Okay, number 3 to why people might think they hate emotions or are bad at them is because they feel an overall ache or a heaviness, but they can't identify what it is they're actually feeling. This one is huge. You know something is off. You can feel it inside of yourself, but you can't name it. It could be sadness, it could be anger. Is it guilt? Is it loneliness? Is it a constant irritability? When we don't know what we're feeling, it just kind of all blends into this one big fog of overwhelm, and we either shut down or we go into a downward spiral or even feel sick. That's when people might say, I don't even know what's wrong with me. But nothing is wrong with you. You're just disconnected from emotional language. I'll use myself as an example of this in a past relationship. So I was in a long-term relationship with a man who was so loving, generous, had so many qualities that I admired. He was committed and loyal, and he had a great mindset, optimistic about life every day. And yet, I found myself feeling super irritable with him pretty often. to the point where I wanted to explode. And oftentimes I did. I was very reactive. And it was something that he might have done or said that was seemingly small for the aggressiveness of my reactivity. So I lived with these feelings for a long time, just always feeling irritable. And it was impacting my ability to feel connected to him because I was annoyed all the time. And it wasn't until I accurately identified what these emotions were in me and where they were coming from that I could actually course correct. The true thing that had been bothering me was that I didn't feel like he was present and truly listening to me when I would share things with him, even just talking about my day-to-day things. And that left me feeling not seen, not heard, or understood, which was making me feel completely unacknowledged. So do you see how the difference between, the reactivity was this feeling of irritability, but when I dug down to the root cause of where this emotion was coming from and what it was completely different. It was a feeling of being unacknowledged, and a huge value of mine is acknowledgement. That's just a need and a value that I have in a partnership. So when I was able to correctly identify this, I could calmly express it to my partner, and we could work on more effective ways of communicating with each other. Okay, reason number 4 of why people think they hate emotions or are bad at them, and this one I hear all the time when I'm coaching with people, is that they say, I'm just not an emotional person, or I'm just not good at, emotions. So they state it kind of like that's just how it is, like this is a fact, right? But what they really mean is I've not learned to show emotion because it didn't feel safe. Maybe you grew up in an environment or even a family or a culture where emotions are judged or even punished. So now you might equate being emotional with being weak or even being wrong. And being emotional doesn't make you either of those. It doesn't make you weak or wrong. It just makes you human. So here's what's super important to address. The more we resist or suppress our emotions, the more power they gain behind the scenes. It's like trying to hold a beach ball underwater, right? It takes energy, effort, and eventually the beach ball pops up back stronger, right? With more force. And so that's why so many people get stuck in these cycles of rumination, right? Have you ever had thoughts that just keep on popping back into your head over and over every day, in and out, whether it's about a breakup, a divorce, a past relationship, an ex, maybe feeling stuck in your life, wanting something different for yourself, and having all these feelings about it and not knowing what to do? These are cycles. These are just patterns that you're stuck in. And it all starts, they're being fueled by unidentified emotions. You're not overthinking because you're broken or there's something wrong with you. You're not overanalyzing because there's something your emotions are actually trying to show you, but your mind just keeps on interrupting it and trying to kind of be logical. Here's the thing. There is a tremendous cost to you to not accurately identify and acknowledge your emotions. When you push them away, they do not disappear. They go underground. They're in your subconscious mind. They are influencing your decisions. They're influencing your relationships, your belief systems, even how you go about life, and it can even impact your health. I just recently finished working with a client. Well, actually, she's continuing with me, but we finished my program. And at the beginning, she was saying that she was waking up every single morning feeling physically ill because of the anger and, just irritability she was having every day toward her ex. And after just doing some inner work around excavating her emotions and getting to the root of them, in a couple of weeks, she felt for the first time, she said in weeks, she woke up feeling not physically ill. I can't talk today. Okay, so anyway, the point of this is that your emotions don't disappear. We must bring them into the light. We have to shine awareness on them to be able to process them and manage them. So this stuff can turn into self-talk also. And it can turn into thoughts and beliefs like, I'm not good enough, or I always mess things up, or I can't trust people. And the wild thing is that some of those beliefs are most likely subconscious and not even in your conscious mind. They're buried inside these emotional patterns that you've never paused to really take a look with and handle. So when people tell me that they're stuck emotionally, mentally, spiritually, I always ask, when was the last time you really let yourself feel something all the way through? Because feeling is what transforms, not just feeling, accurately naming. So we're actually including our body in that response that we're having. We're including our body in a conversation with our mind so we can really get to the root of everything. So instead of judging what you're feeling, instead ask yourself questions. What is this emotion trying to tell me? How do I get to the root of this emotion? What is this emotion telling me that I actually need right now in this moment? Emotions are really just messengers. Anger might be pointing you to a boundary that's been crossed. Sadness could be asking you to release something that you've been holding on to and that you don't need anymore. Maybe it's a burden and you're trying to unburden yourself. Loneliness might be your heart saying, I am craving deeper connection with other humans. They're not random. These are road signs and they help you understand what action to take next. I always help people with their very next steps. Sometimes it can be overwhelming to think about your whole huge problem and how you're going to fix your whole life, how you're going to fix your whole relationships. No. What is your very next step that will then lead you to your next step? So emotions aren't random. When you start paying attention, they'll show you both what's blocking you and what your soul is truly desiring. So the key here though, and this is where a lot of people go wrong, is that we must be in an emotionally regulated state in order to really glean insights from our emotions. You cannot decode emotions accurately when you are dysregulated. When your nervous system is just too overwhelmed, your brain just goes into survival mode, not insight mode. So that's why it's really important to slow down, breathe, ground yourself, move before you go inward. And this can be extremely powerful. And it's also about asking yourself the right questions. And that's where a guide or a coach or a mentor can be really, really helpful because they can kind of ask you questions that maybe you hadn't thought about before, maybe from a different perspective. How can we see things differently? When you are regulated, emotions become information rather than threats. So here's another thing that most people get wrong when they try to work with their emotions. They skip straight to the analyzing of their emotions or to the reframing of their thoughts without accurately identifying what they're feeling. So that's kind of like trying to treat an infection without knowing what it is. You can't reframe a lie and expect it to heal you. So that's why step 1 out of my 5-step process that I teach people and that I teach here on my channel, I've gone over this in other episodes, so go back and watch those. It's also in my Breakup Thought Detox bundle, which is a step-by-step guide that I've put together. I'll link that resource for you in the description if you want to kind of figure out how to bring yourself through this and learn more about it. But it's all about learning how to accurately identify and process your emotions before you even start to try to reframe your thoughts. Because you can't change your story if you don't first understand the emotional truth that is underneath it. So if you're tired of feeling stuck in your thoughts, stuck in your emotions, maybe after a breakup or a traumatic experience in your life, or even just day-to-day life, the link in the description will walk you through the step-by-step process of how to do it. And if you want to fast track your progress to really master this emotional alchemy, then I offer one-to-one coaching to help you move through those deeper layers quickly with support and accountability. The last 2 people who followed my program both said in their recent Google reviews that they can't believe how exponential their growth and progress was in such a short period of time. So the application to work with me is linked down in the description below. Enrollment is currently open, but only for a limited time. So here's the truth that I really want you to walk away with today. It's that you don't actually hate emotions. You might really, really think that you do, but you just haven't been taught how to work with them yet. Once you understand what they're trying to show you, Once you start getting curious instead of being judgmental, emotions stop being the enemy and they start being your guide. They start informing you about what your very next steps can be. They're your GPS. They're pointing you towards healing, clarity, and alignment with what your heart actually wants. So, next time you catch yourself saying, I hate emotions or I'm bad at emotions, pause. I just want you to take a deep breath and I want you to ask yourself, what are you trying to tell me? Because when you start listening, that's when the real transformation begins. So, remember that we are all the alchemists of our own lives. No matter where your point A is, you have the power to transform your thoughts, your emotions, and even your relationships and your life. And you need to really start from the inside out. So come back, watch the other videos, go through my 5 steps, and I'll see you in the next video.